loud. Turn it down from here. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Chana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Chana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padurjikacharya Ashtotar Tata Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padurjikacharya Ashtotar Tata Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Isopanisad Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 19th day of August 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Sri Isopanisad, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are finishing up Isho Mantra 7 today. I'll read the Sanskrit, we'll chant it together, I'll read the translation, and we'll pick up in the purport where we were. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaeva bhud vijanataha tatra ko moha kakshoka ekatvam anupashyataha Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaeva bhud vijanataha tatra ko moha kakshoka ekatvam anupashyataha Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaeva bhud vijanataha tatra ko moha kakshoka ekatvam anupashyataha Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaeva bhud vijanataha tatra ko moha kakshoka ekatvam anupashyataha Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaeva bhud vijanataha Kattako moha kakshoka ekatvam anupashyataha yasmin sarvani bhutani atma bhut vijanataha kat moha kakshoka ekatvam anupashyataha yasmin sarvani bhutani atma bhut vijanataha tattako moha kakshoka ekadvam anupashyataha. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atma bhut vijanataha kattako moha kakshoka ekatvam anupashyataha. Okay, we did the synonyms many times, so I'll read the translation. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? And in this purport, Prabhupada has described different levels of devotees, the Uttama Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, Kanishta Adhikari, the lowest level. And now we're going to be reading the second half of this purport. It's not too long. The spiritual entities are meant for enjoyment, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12. Anandamayo bhyasat. By nature and constitution, every living being, including the Supreme Lord and each of his parts and parcels, is meant for eternal enjoyment. The living beings who are encaged in the material tabernacle, that's the body, are constantly seeking enjoyment, but they are seeking it on the wrong platform. Apart from the material platform is the spiritual platform, where the Supreme Being enjoys himself with his innumerable associates. On that platform, there is no trace of material qualities, and therefore that platform is called Nirguna. On the Nirguna platform, there is never a clash over the object of enjoyment. Here in the material world, there is always a clash between the different individual beings, because here the proper center of enjoyment is missed. The real center of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, who is the center of the sublime and spiritual rasa dance. Now listen to this very revolutionary sentence here. You paying attention? We are all meant to join him and enjoy life with one transcendental interest without any clash. That is the highest platform of spiritual interest, and as soon as one realizes this perfect form of oneness, there can be no question of illusion, moha, or lamentation, shoka. A godless civilization arises from illusion, and the result of such a civilization is lamentation. A godless civilization such as that sponsored by the modern politicians is always full of anxieties because it may be crushed at any moment. That is the law of nature. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7.14, none but those who surrender at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord can surpass the stringent laws of nature. Okay, for extra credit, those who know the Gita, I'll begin the verse and we can continue. Daivi yesha gunamahi mama maya doratyaya mameviye papadyante maya me tang tarantite. Thus, if we wish to get rid of all sorts of illusion and anxiety and create unity out of all diverse interests, we must bring God into all our activities. The results of activities must be used to serve the interest of the Lord and not for any other purpose. Only by serving the Lord's interest can we perceive the Atma Bhuta interest mentioned herein. The Atma Bhuta interest mentioned in this mantra and the Brahma Bhuta interest mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 1854 are one and the same. The Supreme Atma or soul is the Lord himself, and the minute Atma is the living entity. The Supreme Atma or Paramatma alone maintains all the individual minute beings, for the Supreme Lord wants to derive pleasure out of their affection. He wants to derive pleasure out of our affection. The Father extends himself through his children and maintains them in order to derive pleasure. If the children obey the Father's will, family affairs will run smoothly, with one interest and a pleasing atmosphere. The same situation is transcendently arranged in the absolute family of the Parabrahman, the Supreme Spirit. The Parabrahman is as much a person as the individual entities, neither the Lord nor the living entities are impersonal. Such transcendental personalities are full of transcendental bliss, knowledge, and life eternal. That is the real position of spiritual existence. And as soon as one is fully cognizant of this transcendental position, he at once surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Being, Sri Krishna. But such a Mahatma, or great soul, is very rarely seen, because such transcendental realization is achieved only after many, many births. Okay, what's the verse he's referring to? Bahunam janmanamante gyanavan mam papadite vasudeva savamiti samahatma sudurlabham. We got to know these famous verses. I got to start doing a shloka reviews. Yes, yeah, very important verse. Once it is attained, that Mahatma platform, however, there's no longer any illusion or lamentation. There are no miseries of material existence, and there are no birth and death, which are all experienced in our present life. That is the information we get from this mantra of the Sri Isopanisad. Om Jnana Timarandasya Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. Hare Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada begins this section of the purport describing how all of us are meant for enjoyment, which is very encouraging. That is our natural position. But we're not always enjoying now. So we should understand that we need to move from this position of flickering enjoyment, which we know from living in the material world for a while also brings misery, to steady, ever-increasing enjoyment. That's what Ananda is. This verse actually describes the Supreme Absolute Truth. It's from the Vedanta Sutra. Prabhupada would often quote it describing Krishna. Anandamayo means made of Ananda, full of Ananda. And abhyasat means from his activities, from what he does, from our reading about him, we understand that he's always full of Ananda. So we're part and parcel of Krishna. That means we have his qualities in minute degree. We are also meant to always enjoy. But, as I said, by constitution, because we're part and parcel, we're meant to be like him. But when we're encaged in the material tabernacle, now this word tabernacle is used, one of its meanings is the material body. When you cast off the mortal coil or leave the material tabernacle, that means you die. This is a phrase from Western theological writing. So Prabhupada picked it up, encaged in this tabernacle. And encaged means you can't get out. In other words, we're bound up by the limits of the body, both the gross body and the subtle body, and by that limitation, our ability to enjoy is also limited. Although we're always hankering, because our nature is to always enjoy. We're always looking, where is that enjoyment, and therefore this is a world of woe, because it says tattva ko moha kakshoka. If one is seeing through the vision of this verse, one will always see everyone spiritually, one will be Krishna conscious, then you're not experiencing illusion or its concomitant anxiety. But if you're completely in the material modes under the gunas, and that will be discussed, then it's up and down. There's some periods of enjoyment, obviously, but then there's long periods of misery, and sometimes extreme misery. I was reading an article about the foundations of this nation, because Prabhupada talks about it a lot in these purports. The government, he talks about communism, capitalism. We both have the weapons, the atom bombs. Remember that purport we read? I think that may be here. And eventually they'll be used, you know. So what's the foundation of this country? You know, I grew up in this country. I had a grade school education. We learned about, you know, we put on our little plays on Thanksgiving, pilgrims and all that. But we didn't learn that this country is founded on, 1, genocide, and 2, slavery. And that slavery was like, you couldn't believe it. You know, they just took these poor millions, over 10 million were captured mostly in Africa or Caribbean or wherever, brought to America, and you know, worked, children in the fields, you know, and it was so hard that they usually lived maybe 10 years and they had to bring more in, you know. They didn't see them as human beings. This is America, the foundation of America. This is what happens when the demons take over a country. And they're practically in charge of every country. Even India? Oh my God, can I say that? In other words, you have to look at the qualities of their activities, not the words so much. Anyway, I'm not going to go there anymore, but when the living entities, just like we read in the Bhagavatam, I mean, who is Hiranyakashipu? He's Jai and Vijay. He's a devotee. And they made a mistake by stopping the Kumaras, and they got cursed, and they had to take these birds as Hiranyakashipu, and Ravana, Kumbhakarna, Hiranyaksha, Shishupal, Dantavakra. All of them were completely bewildered and completely in anxiety and completely, demons. But they were Jai and Vijay, so they all got killed by Krishna and went back home. But the point is that consciousness of devotion to Krishna can be totally covered, and you can turn into the most horrendous, horrific person. And then, of course, there's all of these lower species that you then have to get completely covered and spend time coming up slowly. So this is the situation we're in. It's a grand illusion. Many people think, oh, it's fine. Look, the sun is up in SanDiego. Let's go to the beach. And you see people that, I look out my window, I was watching, there's a whole family, young family. And so the guy is carrying one little baby, and the mother is pushing one, the stroller, and they gotta have protection, so they got something to lie on the beach. It's a whole operation. And to get to the point where you can walk to the beach, imagine the amount of money you have to save, loans you have to take out, and all of that is on their head. They got some house, father, and we're sitting here, we can just walk to the beach without anybody. But that's just, that's material life. Taking on a huge burden so you can think that you're enjoying. Please get a seat. Get her a seat. Yeah, don't just sit on it. I should get it. Yeah. That's material life, because the living entity is the enjoyer. We're full of ananda, but we forgot all that. We forgot Krishna. So we're trying to take enjoyment from the contact of the senses with the sense objects. But that's a very flickering platform. And it's self-defeating. Yehi sangsparjaja boga, who can complete the line? Yehi sangsparjaja boga, dukkha yona evate. This is an incredible statement from Krishna. That pleasures, whatever it may be, whatever your senses contact, and that includes the subtle sense of the mind. Everybody walking around with their screens, and the plug, you don't even have a wire anymore. They're in their own world. They're in contact with the senses, But that's going to bring misery, Sometimes it brings misery. You walk out in the street, you can imagine. And some cars coming. But eventually, first of all, then comes the point you're listening, the battery runs out. What happened? Suddenly your pleasure is turned to anger and shoka. Kanchati and shochati. This is the nature of material life. Hanker for some pleasure. Maybe, the rule of all pleasure, sex life. And, you hanker for it, you work for it, you do this, you go, okay, now we're enjoying. And then it's gone, it's in the back, and then there's the results of that, and you have to deal with that. What's all this drug craziness? First of all, a lot of it is trying to relieve the pain now. The opioids, all of this business. And people are just trying to dull the pain because they had a nice job and they were sent abroad, they don't have any work now, their kids, on drugs, whatever. All of this suffering going on out there, so people dull the pain. Alcohol, the same thing. Let me just forget. But that's that's taking shelter of the mode of ignorance. Obviously it leads to suffering, right? So what's the alternative? Everyone thinks there's no alternative. This is life. But it's not life. It's an artificial life that we've created for ourselves by turning our back on Krishna. Bhayam dvitiya banaveshitakshyad ishadapetasya viparyayo asmriti. Very important section of the Bhagavatam in the 11th canto. Prabhupada quoted this verse constantly. What is the source of fear? Fear is the basic principle of the material life, because we're always under threat. The fact being confident and happy is abnormal in this world. It means that you're like an ostrich with his head in the ground. Does that really solve your problem? The lion is coming. Oh, let me put my head in the ground, and I can deny that the lion exists. I've got a good 30 seconds. That's, I'm good. We're good. No, you're not good. You're threatened at every moment by the threefold miseries: birth, death, old age, and disease. And sometimes it comes down like a ton of bricks. We read about it. I mean, we're living in like a special little node here in the world. We went through this whole summer practically. Did it get really unbearably hot? Did it get 90, 95, 100? No. Didn't, right? Not this year. I mean, last year it got near 90. But this year is fine. So we're good. Yeah, you just go a little bit east, a little bit north, and you'll find the fires are going on and the hurricanes, and then there's the underlying adibautic misery of our dear leader, right? Adibautic misery for billions of people in this world. Thanks for coming, even for a few minutes. Hare Krishna. So it's just a world of woe. Why does it say? What does Krishna say? We can all chant together. We got to learn these verses. Mami parta vipashitya. No, not this. Excuse me. No, you see, I forgot. Mamupetya punarjanma dukali mashashritam. This is the problem. Dukali mashashritam. Mamupetya punarjanma dukali mashashritam. Naptamandi mahatmana sangsiddhim paramangata. No. Okay. So those first two lines. One who attains to me doesn't have to come back again to this world, which is dukkhalayam, which means an abode of misery. It's certified as such by Krishna. And in case you forget, you read the 13th chapter, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Doshana, Darshanam. This is one of the principles of knowledge. To have a foundation to practice bhakti, we have to know all of these elements of knowledge in the 13th chapter, text 8 to 11. I just read the purport yesterday. Prabhupada says like that. And one of those is definitely Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. To always see, to have in one's understanding, the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. Now this should put a brake on our tendency to try to enjoy sense gratification, because it means that we're taking a drug to try to deny reality, to try to forget real reality. And it's a very risky proposition, because at any moment we could die, or we could have a stroke and not be unable to function, or get some injury or some disease or whatever. This is the material world at any moment. Danger at every step, right? So the alternative is to go for this platform. Anandamaya Abhyasat means to really gradually develop that ability to tap in to the reservoir of pleasure, of ananda, within our very heart. You're always carrying it with you. At any time, does any one of us think, who wants to posit that we can't chant Hare Krishna? No. Between 9 and 10, there's no chanting of Hare Krishna. Of course not. At every moment, at any time, day and night, you can always chant Hare Krishna. Now, if we can develop the taste, if we can refine our consciousness so that we can taste the real nectar of the holy name at every moment, why would we ever stop? We wouldn't. So therefore, it's important to hear about how the realized souls are tasting the holy name. And we believe them, right? They're not making it up. When Sanatana Goswami sings in his Brihad Bhagavatamrita, these beautiful verses at the beginning of the Bhagavatamrita, Jayati Jayati Namananda Rupam Morare Vidimitanaj Dharma Dhyana Pujari Yatnam Katamapi Sakaratam Muktidam Praninam Yat Padamamamitam Ekam Bhushanam Jivanam Bhushanam Me. Sorry, I forgot a few words. Oh glories, right? This is the way he feels. This is what he's glorifying. Namananda Rupam. The holy name, which is the very form of bliss. I'm talking about Ananda here. It's right in the purple. Rupam Murad, the name of Murai, the name of Krishna, the enemy of the Mura demon. What does it do? What's the first effect? Vidamita means causes you to give up, to stop. Nija Dharma Dhyani Pujari Yatnam. The great efforts of fulfilling one's role in the Varnashram system. That's Nija Dharma. Dhyana, the austerities of Dhyana Yoga, going alone, Nija Dharma Dhyana. Puja, worshipping, very elaborate worship of the demigods. Adi, etc. All of these material aspects of Vedic culture, because there's a Vedic way of enjoying too, the Karmakanda section, all of that. This chanting absorbed because it's Namananda Rupam. You've already achieved your Ananda, you're experiencing it. So what do I need to strive for all this other stuff? This is a distraction. So that's the first thing. Then he says, if someone somehow or other, Katamapi Sakrat, chants once, even without great faith, Sakrat Muktidam, it delivers you from eons of karma, giving you liberation, at least for that time. If you stop your sins, you're free. Muktidam praninam, any living entity. And then at the last line he says, Paramam Amritam Ekam, it is my supreme and soul nectar. Jivanam, my very life. Bhushanam, my only ornament. And he just spent time chanting there, for, 64 rounds a day, every day, at least. And teaching it to others. So that's the way the great soul had. Rupa Goswami, similar with his Tunde Tanda Vanida Ting, I want to have millions of tongues, I want to have millions of ears. I don't know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. But our mind is going elsewhere to find the nectar. We're chanting, but we're not there. So, but we should know and have faith in the words of these acharyas, right? So let's develop that ability to enjoy that. Then, whatever happens, whether we're in a pleasant condition, materially or not, we can always take shelter of that holy name, just like Prahlad is. And he said the same thing. He says, Naibod Vijay, I am never, my mind is never disturbed. He used this very word in his first teaching to his father. His father asked him, what did you learn today, Prahlad? What's the best thing? Just like we have report cards, the parents want to know how my kid doing in school, right? So he asked him personally, what's the best thing? This word udvignadiyam. Said, my best of the demons. He didn't say dear father. Probably makes that point. My opinion is that the best thing I learned today, best for whom, Prabhupada says, and that's best for the living entities whose minds are always disturbed. Why is the mind always disturbed in the material side? You remember? As he says, Diyam asad grahat. Who can explain that phrase? What does asat mean? Exactly. Grahat means, attachment. It also means like holding on to for dear life. It's a graha. A graha is an alligator. Grabs you, you don't get away. So grahat means we're holding on for dear life to that which is temporary. In other words, it's foolish. It's suicidal. We're holding on to the fallible soldiers of the body, the family, the money, the insurance policy, and our clan, whatever it is, and we're safe. Isn't that ignorant? Time catches up with you and pulls you out of there and ends all of your relationship with all that. Finish. Your body won't save you, your family won't save you, your insurance policy won't save you. There was a big demon. There's a lot of big demons in this world, at least big in comparison to other demons. And his name was Rockefeller. I forget what his first name was, but he's one of those Rockefeller clans that came down in the 20th century. Or did they start in the 19th century? Oil. They made their billions in oil. Was it John? Maybe it's John D. Rockefeller. But one of them was a governor when I was growing up. He was a governor of New York. Anyway, so they're big names. Rockefeller. Everyone knows the name Rockefeller. This guy, somehow, through most expensive medical treatment you could get, he lived to be over 100, and he just died a couple of years ago. And he was part of this thing called what was it called, the Council of Foreign Relations or something. This is a group that meets once or twice a year, and they try to control the whole world. They have a plan, and they have so much money and influence politically and everything like that. And he was the leader, a big demon. So here's a guy with unlimited funds. Money's no problem. I'm talking billions, obviously. And he was able to somehow extend his life till he was over 100. You can imagine, probably artificial heart and this and that, But finally, you can't, he died. Now, just try to imagine, what these guys are into. I mean, they see people as just pawns or, resources. They're not, there's no empathy there. I was just speaking about, the history of America. I was reading some details I didn't know about the slavery, over what did it started in 1619? It's 500 years ago. Now, of course, the slavery was ended in 1860, but everyone knows it still continued, restoration, they still, you know, until the mid-60s, until today, there's all of this craziness of, you know, seeing people in terms of their skin color. But I mean, that means that you dehumanize and you can exploit. Of course, slavery is now, a war was fought about that. But that doesn't cure the mentality of using other people and exploiting them and just seeing them. You know, this is demonic. This is what happens when money rules everything, which is what's happening in the world. It's not just America. And so that takes you farther and farther away from reality. And you can imagine the suffering and the sin that from all of those sins of, you know, vast amount of suffering that you cause. Wars and exploitation and poverty and starvation and everything, all this stuff, the weapons they build. So this is the world we're living in. There are little pockets like the harekrishna movement in certain places where there's some sanity, you have the ability to chant. But we should take advantage of the times that are with us here. I was just, you know, this, as I say, we're kind of in a weather anomaly here. I like to keep track of it. I mean, there's huge heat waves in Europe. And it went north into the Arctic Circle. And there's all kinds of these melting going on. The Iceland is melting, Greenland is melting. You don't live far enough from the ocean here. We're talking 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet of all this ice melts. And it's increasing in speed. This is all a result of the so-called consumer society all around the world. So we need this is our salvation. The instruction here, and to take it seriously. So by nature, everyone is full of enjoyment, but we've forgotten that. And I was chanted that verse. Fear comes when we detach ourselves from Krishna. We turn our back on Krishna. We become absorbed in the externals, the dualities, the material energy to try to enjoy it and imitate Krishna. And that fear can be mitigated or cured by reversing the process. That's the import of this verse. Turning again toward Krishna and worshiping Him not to fulfill our material desires. This is a cheating religion. But to worship Him and to serve Him for His pleasure. And then the fear goes away. How can there be any fear? How can there be any anxiety? Anxiety is a type of fear. So proper contrast the material platform with the spiritual platform. There's no trace of material qualities, and it's called nirguna. Now, of course, this word is used by the impersonalists to ultimately say that the ultimate reality has no qualities. But it means no material qualities. The qualities are there. Prabhupada saved us from that, right? Nirvishesha. Not shunya, but shunya. Nirvishesha shunyavadi paschatya deshatarine. Now, he wrote that prayer himself when he was sitting in, 22nd Avenue, basically, But, of course, he's extending all over the world. It says Western countries, paschatya, but it means everywhere. So how to be saved from this impersonalism, which culminates in what we have today? That's why there's actually a huge fall-off in America of people saying they believe in God or going to church. It's been happening gradually now. In the last couple of decades, it's extreme. A lot of people say they're spiritual, but they don't want anything to do with organized religion, because all of this scandal in the church and all of this stuff. So, that's one of our strong points, because we're so disorganized. But Madhuryan would say, Maharaj would say. But why don't people believe in it? Because it seems that technology is in charge. And for most people, religion is a way of mitigating the anxieties of material world, and they just pray for something material. But at least they recognize a higher power. That's why Krishna says, Artha jigyasarati jnanicha bodhisattva. There's 4 kinds of pious people who approach me. The first is the Artha, one who's suffering. A huge category. And that even bleeds over into the other one. What is Artharti? Well, to go for some material wealth. Well, that's another kind of misery, poverty, so that really includes in the same thing. Rare is it that someone approaches the Krishna genuinely wanting spiritual knowledge and realization. That's the last one, and Krishna praises them highly. Oh, they're as good as myself. And it culminates in this Bahunam Jamanamante verse, which Prabhupada quotes here, or refers to. That after many, many, many births of cultivating knowledge genuinely, the rare soul, the Mahatma, surrenders unto me. recognizes that I, Vasudeva, am everything. That's what this is all about. Just Sarvani Bhutaniyama. To recognize that every soul, every living entity is a soul, just like me, and we're all part and parcel of the Supreme Soul. That's the Mahatma's vision. How can there be any illusion? How can there be any anxiety for such a person if you're surrounded by your brothers and sisters? Now, of course, they don't recognize it, so they may oppose you, you know. So you can develop that tolerance, just like Prahlad, right? What Titikshava and Kapila Deva is saying. So you maintain your warm feeling toward everyone, although some of the demons you avoid them, but you still recognize they'll eventually become devotees. But you see everybody as a friend. And since you're not trying to exploit, and that comes out in your dealings, then that's how people, you can make friends with people. Anybody. If they genuinely see that, oh, this person is trying to help me. That's how these millions of books are distributed. When the quality of the devotee comes through, and the person says, "Oh, this person really does want to help me," you know. Whereas in every other interaction, especially some commercial interaction, there's obvious attempt to exploit. You see what I'm saying? So Prabhupada here, so the new guna platform, there's never a clash of the object of enjoyment. Now I just wanted to remark on one thing. This morning I shared with Jamal one little insight or little question really about one verse in the Bhagavad Gita. And that is this verse we may know, Yagyartart kamano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. This is in the third chapter. What it says there is that every action we perform must be done in the spirit of sacrifice for Vishnu. Yagya is the name for Vishnu. That's Yagya means sacrifice. Or Krishna. Otherwise, that action binds us to this material world. Now, that's pretty heavy, because so many of our actions, even though we're devotees and we're chanting, are not really done in that spirit of sacrifice. It's done because, all right, it's my time to chant. I'm chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, but the mind may be thinking something else. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But so I was thinking of actually applying it to every action, including our internal bhajan actions like the chanting of Hare Krishna, which is our basic sadhana. This is how we stay connected to Krishna. Every mantra, I'm chanting this. I'm not chanting it out of duty. I'm chanting it as a sacrifice for Vishnu, for Krishna. In other words, to please Krishna. See, the word sacrifice means, oh, I have to sacrifice. Okay, I'll do it as a matter of duty. But really, a little step above that, I mean, that's an important platform. That's Vaidhi Bhakti. But a step above that is with the idea, though, like the mother, right? She's making so many sacrifices for the child, but she doesn't feel that they're sacrifices. I'm loving this child. If the child is happy because I'm keeping him warm and he looks at me, then it's not a sacrifice. This is just pleasure. You see what I'm saying? Like the gopis didn't feel, let's make a sacrifice, we're going after Krishna. It wasn't like that. They were running after Krishna for his pleasure. That's the key. That's the key element. So you're chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Now, how to feel that I'm doing this to please Krishna. See, to actually be conscious, I'm doing it for you. And not only that, but when you chant the name Hare, that's Radharani's name. So that's for Krishna's pleasure. And when you chant the name Krishna, that's for Radharani's pleasure. They're one, So I think that this is actually how we're supposed to chant, is to feel that I'm doing it for your glorification, not because it's just the time to chant or it's my duty to chant. I mean, that's to be a foundational thing. But the attitude of chanting is to try to do that and everything else we do with the awareness that is for Krishna's pleasure. And when you contemplate the foundational verse of this whole movement, this one is another one we should know. Balaram, you know this. Chant with me. Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karma janavratam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. Very important verse near the very beginning of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is what the ideal of spontaneous devotion to Krishna is characterized. Begins with the negative, what it's not. Anya abhilashita shunyam. Here's that word shunyam, devoid of other aspirations or desires. And then he categorizes them. Jnana karma yanavritam. Jnana karma karmani adi, right? So, etc. Adi always means and others. So jnana means impersonal knowledge, trying to get liberation. Karma means fruit of activity. And adi means anything else you may come up with. You know, that's material. Not covered, not polluted, not obscured. That's anavritam. Avritam is covered, anavritam is not covered by these. Then what is it? Okay, this is what it shouldn't be, because this is what religion often is. You may approach God and worship, you know, with great ardor, but your motive is, oh, please, you know, give me 4 more years. My cancer is acting up, whatever. A million different things you can pray for, right? None of that is what Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is going to talk about. That's the whole idea. He's setting up this book. So then, anukulena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. This is the definition of uttama bhakti. Anukulena means favorable, having a favorable mentality. Krishnanushilanam means activities that are intended to please Krishna. This is the definition of uttama bhakti. Now, how do I know what those activities? Then you have to learn. You have to learn from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you know, and then from the Upadeshamrita, right? Utsaha karma vartana. Those are with faith and enthusiasm, confidence, and patience to do those things that are prescribed. This is Vaidhi Bhakti. You know, you hear about enthusiasm, patience, and confidence. In the matter of what? I mean, those can be applied to playing baseball. You know, be patient. Don't swing at every pitch. That's what they taught me when I was 7 years old. No, tat karma bhavat, in all of the different activities, getting up early, taking a shower, how you dress, how you act. That's we learn, and we have enthusiasm, patience, and determination to do those things. And at the same time, sangat tyagat, giving up the association of non-devotees, because our consciousness will be polluted by that and affected. Then what do I follow in the footsteps of the great acharyas? It's all very scientific, very brilliant, very concise. So that's the positive side. And on the negative side, there's another 6 which expand into 8. Atyahara. I'm not going to go into that now. We're studying that at night. We're going to start the 2nd verse tonight, I think, if you're interested. All right, I'm going on overtime here. I'm getting carried away. So just to sum up here, the godless civilization arises from illusion. So Bhagavad Gita dispels that illusion. All the books dispel that illusion. Atma Bhuta is the same as Brahma Bhuta. See everyone equally joyful at heart because we're connected to Krishna. Brahma Bhuta Pasanabana Shochati Nakankshati, the same idea. You know, no lamentation. That lamentation, when it gets chronic, it becomes depression. You can't even rise up to the point of forgetting your misery so you can try to enjoy. Very endemic, you know, everyone. But if you actually are able to engage in Krishna and chant Hare Krishna, you'll find the clouds of depression will dissipate. You know, we should probably advertise it like that. There's people are making billions of dollars on antidote for depression. Got it right here. Okay, so Krishna is maintaining everything. If we obey his orders, then we'll be happy. Okay. Any comments or questions? I know it's a little bit over time. Oh, we got a... Yes.
I don't understand one thing I hear like over and over.
Right in the mic so I can hear.
Over and over all the time they say, when we chant, when we do something devotional service, please the Krishna. I think that Krishna is Krishna is full of all opulence, and he's a supreme personality, and everything comes from him. Why, when we chant, why he's happy? On the other side, Prabhupada says, chant and be happy. So in my experience, when I chant, my rounds are done, I'm so happy that day. So I don't
because
think
you're on a high platform.
But why it means we are doing to please Krishna, means we are bribing Krishna. So okay,
no,
we did the rounds for you.
No. The idea is there's all different ways of looking at it. The basic principle is you chant with great attention. You don't chant in order to they pray to, you know, Krishna to be pleased, you know, forgive my my sins, you know, that I just performed. I'm going to perform some more, but I know I can chant. You know, that's like the greatest offense, right? That's Namno Balad, on the strength of the name, to keep sinning. So the point is, the main thing is to hear. Okay, you want to hear with great attention, and to remember, the holy name is not different from Krishna, that you're associating with Krishna. Like, but the idea is that everything we do is supposed to be done for Krishna's pleasure. Now you can say, yeah, I'm sitting down here, I'm not doing it for myself, I'm doing it for Krishna. You know, that's the basic reason why I'm in the temple and I'm practicing bhakti. But I think when you apply that to everything, it's just like, there's a verse in, the 11th canto, Kayena vacha manasendriyava buddhyapana bhavat bhavat karoti yadyat sakalam padasmai narayanaya iti samarpayeta. That whatever you do, this is a formula for, again, getting past fear and being on a, you know, Brahmabhuta platform. Whatever you do, and he lists kaya with the body, with the words, with the mind, with the senses, with the intelligence, whatever you've been given, whatever we have at hand as human beings, then you're acting with them all the time, right? You're doing things. So whatever you do, karoti yad yad, means every single one. Sakalam, or parasmai narai, I'm doing this, one should think, I'm doing this as an offering for Narayan. In other words, that consciousness of always being connected with Krishna, and speaking for Krishna, walking for Krishna, breathing for Krishna, this is the pure devotee platform. In other words, there's different rasas, right? There's the Shanta ras, Dasya ras, Sakya ras, Vatsalya ras, and Madhurya ras. So all of the higher rasas contain the qualities of the lower ones. Now the first one we don't emphasize so much, Shanta ras. But actually there's some entities in even Goloka Vrindavan as Shanta ras. They just wait for Krishna to use them. They don't have any active service. The grass, you know, when will Krishna step on me? You know, they're fully conscious, fully conscious. So what's the characteristics of the Shanta ras? Is that never forget Krishna for even a split second. Be fully satisfied in that consciousness of Krishna, blissful, and have not a slight tinge of attraction for material things. Now you can see how we're supposed to come to that platform, but we don't stay on there. We're meant to be actively engaged. So what does it mean to be actively engaged in Krishna's service when being fully blissful in being conscious of Him? It means that you're participating in Krishna's bliss by giving Him something, right? In other words, He wants us to offer the food. He doesn't want the food. He wants, you know, the bhoga. He wants our love that we're developing by offering to Him. So that will develop when we're actually consciously doing something and for Krishna's pleasure. It's just like, you know, falling in love in this world. You know, so you get attracted to someone, and what do you want to do? Well, you want to try to contact them, you want to try to please them, you want to give something, so that they'll reciprocate, right? There's always that calculation, so it's more or less karma that's going on. But the principle is still the same, and you find a lot of it, especially with the mother and child. Prabhupada gave the most pure. The mother is fixated on keeping the child happy and healthy and safe, right? Happy and healthy and safe. And whatever she can do, you know, sewing something, cooking something, you know, holding, watching. She's doing it with that child's happiness in mind. And when there's a little reciprocation, I mean, the child hardly even knows the mother's a human being, but there's a smile, half a smile, no teeth. You know what I mean? Oh, my day is made. My child smiles. He spoke one word. You know, you know what I'm saying? So that's what bhakti is about. The first thing is being conscious of Krishna. Well, Krishna is always blissful. Haribol. Haribol, Hector. Welcome. And so when we can feel, you know, and even if we're not aware, if we're actually giving Krishna pleasure, you'll feel the bliss. Just like the kirtan. You just get wrapped up in the kirtan, in the rhythm, and the name, you know. Well, Krishna is pleased by that, and suddenly you find yourself happy. You're not depressed anymore, you know, or whatever you brought into the temple, it's not going on anymore. You're absorbed, you know, there's a beautiful form of Krishna. So that's a reality. So the more that we can be conscious in doing that, the more we'll be on this Anyabhilashi Dashunyam platform. That's the definition. Doing everything with a favorable attitude to please Krishna. And it sounds like, you know, from the material side, it says, this is brainwashing. What about you? What is your pleasure? You guys are sitting around in these clothes you buy for $25 a year or more or less. You're not participating. You're missing out on all the fashion. You're missing out on all the raps and the raves and everything. You're sitting here. You're sitting here 2-3 blocks from the beach, but you guys probably haven't gone swimming in a while, haven't you? Did you? You know, no, we haven't. But we find, just like the whole point of this purport, we find another platform of enjoyment because Krishna is always there in the heart. Were you able to come last night? Oh yeah, this very wonderful speaker comes at least once a month these days. His name is Nirantara Prabhu. They're all recorded. And he was saying, oh, I just love this idea. This idea. Krishna is always in your heart. God is always with you in your heart. Now, if God is in your heart, He's there with everything. He has his full blissful paraphernalia. The whole spiritual world is in your heart. It's not limited by space and time. But we've forgotten. We've completely forgotten that, birth after birth. So to remember that and understand we have a place in that world. We belong there. That's where we came from. We're exiles here. This is all unnatural. Then all we have to do is learn the technique for accessing that reservoir of pleasure. And the basic technique is this chanting of this mantra, of chanting. But there's an art to it. How, you know, how to chant, what the preparations are, what your mentality is, and regularity. But the point is that we have that access to this reservoir of pleasure. This whole purport we read was about Ananda, how we are Ananda's bliss. And it says Anandamayo Vyasat. There's little phrases. There's a book called the Vedanta Sutra. A sutra is an aphorism. And one of the aphorisms is describing Krishna is Anandamaya Vyasa. Anandamaya means made of bliss, full of bliss. He's never depressed, he's never in anxiety. You know, it's just this overflowing spiritual happiness. And we are part of that, but we've forgotten. Because we're minute, we can get covered over. And so we're trying to enjoy that or get to that level on this material platform, and we're constantly frustrated. This verse we read today, this is not from Bhagavatam, this is from a book called Isopanisad, a nice little book we can show you. And it's describing how can there be any moha or shoka? Moha means how can there be any bewilderment or lamentation or fear for someone who is fully Krishna conscious and sees everyone as a spiritual being and relates to him on that level. It's a wonderful book, and purport is beautiful. And Prabhupada is talking about how we are by nature and full of bliss. But we've forgotten that nature, and so sometimes we suffer and then birth and death. But if we can contact that ultimate reservoir of bliss in Krishna and stay contacted, then we can actually, even in this body, rise up to that bliss and never come back again to take birth and death. So it's a little overtime, but I thought I'd give you, since you came late, this is a summary of what we talked about today. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.